All right there, everyone. So I am on the last part of your foldable. So if you have your foldable, you're going to want to go to that last section labeled rotations. So that is where you're going to want to be. If you don't have your foldable, that's okay. You can just do this on a piece of paper. That is just fine. So make sure that you have something to write on because you're going to want to make sure that you actually have this written down someplace so that way you can use it for the knowledge check on Friday. If that's in a notebook, that's fine. Composition book, notebook paper, just make sure you start to keep all of your math notes together so that way you can go back to them and use them on Fridays or if we have a quiz or something. So we're on that rotation section, so mine will look a little differently than yours because I have it all on flat pieces of paper here rather than as a foldable like you have it. So when we are going about the origin, remember about the origin means that we are going around the coordinate 0, 0. And sorry about the bell there. So 90-degree rotation. When we have a 90-degree rotation, we're going to have our objects. I'm going to draw a triangle. You'll want to draw a triangle as well in one of the coordinate planes. And when I'm going 90 degrees about the origin, that means that I am rotating this specific triangle. So I'm going to take one of the points and it's going to go 90 degrees about the origin. I'm going to be going clockwise when I do this. If you want to go, counterclockwise. If you want to go clockwise, you can. So this angle then is 90 degrees. So what happens though when we rotate? What are the rules? So you should have done the GeoGebra assignment, which was Tuesday's assignment, and here are what the rules are. So you're going to have kind of two steps. The first part is you're going to take your coordinate. So that coordinate for me, just as an example, is 1, 1. And you're going to take that coordinate and you're going to multiply the y value by -1. And you're going to then switch the order. And I'm going to use a different coordinate than 1, 1 so you can actually kind of see what's happening because 1, 1 is going to be a little strange. So let's use 4, 1. So the way this is going to work is you are going to switch the order and multiply your original y value by -1, or if you go in that order, multiply by -1, switch the order. So my new coordinate then, if it was 4, 1, which was the coordinate over here, this is 4, 1, I'm going to multiply the y value by -1, which gives me -1. So now my y value is -1. And then I'm going to switch the order. So I'm going to take that new y value, so -1, 4. And that would be my new coordinate. So I'm just switching all of those around. So if you want to see this kind of visually, what's happening in that ordered pair, you're taking the values x, y, so whatever your original ordered pair was, and then making it a -y, x. So if it was a -y to begin with, negative times a negative is a positive. So that's kind of how this works. So basically you're making the new x value the opposite sign. That's all that means. So if I was to actually rotate this particular figure, my new, and I'm going to label my points as A, B, C. So my new value then is going to be -1, 4. So that is my new C, and I'm going to use that apostrophe so that I know that is my new coordinate. And I'm going to do this with each of those coordinates. So A is 1, 1. B is 2, 3. So 1, 1 is kind of easy. It's just going to become -1, 1. And B is going to become -3, 2. And redraw your triangle. So that's what happens if you have a 90-degree rotation. Notice your rotation only went one quadrant to the left. If you're going counterclockwise, it'll go one to the right if you're going clockwise. So that's 90 degrees. Let's move on to 180 degrees. So for 180 degrees, you only have one rule here, which makes it kind of nice. You're going to just multiply both coordinates by -1. So if I draw a triangle here, A, B, and C, all you're going to do to rotate this, and basically what happens here is, so this was 90 degrees, and I'll even draw that in a different color so you can see that's what that was. So this represents that we're just rotating this 90 degrees. What's happening here with 180, remember 180 degrees is just a straight line. So all we're doing is rotating it by that 180 degrees. So my A coordinate, again, I have it as 1, 1. B is 4, 2. And C is 3, 4. And I'm just going to make both of the coordinates now negative. So I'm going to have -1, -1 is my new A. B is now going to be -4, -2. And C is now going to be -3, -4. And draw your triangle. So if you're wanting a little bit more visual, all you're doing is x, y becomes -x, -y. If it was positive, it becomes negative. If it was negative, it becomes positive. It's just the opposite sign. So again, whenever you have that negative in your new one, it just means the new value is the opposite sign. And finally, we have 270 degrees, which is kind of the opposite of what we did for 90 degrees. So 90 degrees, we multiplied the y by -1. This time we're going to multiply x by -1. And we are still going to switch the order. So if we draw a triangle here, A, B, and C. For an example, my C coordinate is 3, 2. So if I wanted to find my new coordinate, then I'm going to be multiplying my x value by -1, so 3 by -1, which makes it -3. So I now have a -3 here. Sorry, let me get the red pen out. And then I'm going to switch the order. So my new coordinate is going to be 2, -3. That's all I'm doing for each of these. So my C was 3, 2. B is 2, 4. And A is 1, 1. So that's all I'm doing when I'm rotating this. When I rotate this particular coordinate, it's going to kind of look like a backwards 90 degrees here. So I'm going to be going this way, and it's going to be going clockwise. So that arrow, that doesn't really look like an arrow, but it is just a really crappy arrow. Let's see if I can, there we go. So that's kind of how we're rotating this specific object, or triangle in our case. So if you're wanting to see that as we have written them before, we're doing x, y, and then making it into y, and then a -x. So again, that's just the new y is the opposite sign. So let's go ahead and rotate that object. So I'm going to have 1, -1, which is now going to become, 1, 1, which will become 1, -1. So my new A is going to be here. B was 2, 4, so now it's going to be 4, -2. And C was 3, 2, and as we discussed before, it's going to become 2, -3. And connect your points. So those are examples of rotation. I rotated it in the counterclockwise form. So all of these are done counterclockwise. If you did it clockwise, it would still be the same idea. So if you went clockwise for 90 degrees, you would end up going into quadrant 4. Remember, your quadrants are 1, 2, 3, and 4. If you did 180 degrees the other way, you're still going to end up in that third quadrant. And if you did 270 degrees clockwise, you end up in the second quadrant. So basically 90 and 270 are opposite of each other. So on that next page, we talk about how to rotate about a point. So for example, you might get a question like, let me give you an example here. You might get a question that says rotate 180 degrees about a point -5, 3. So I'm just going to give you an example. This is going to be about -5, 3. So we're going to draw our point -5. 1, 2, 3. So that's our point, is in the green there. And you're going to have a triangle. So I'm just going to draw a baby triangle so that I keep it on my graph here. And I want to rotate this 180 degrees. Oops. So what you're going to do is you're first going to change your original picture, so that picture that I drew there, so I have points A, B, and C. And A is currently at 5, 5. B is at 5, 4. And C is at 5, 4, 3, 4. So the very first thing that we are going to want to do is rotation to the origin. Take our center of rotation. So we want to move our coordinate here. Pick a color. And we want to end up moving that rotation point, so where we want it to be rotated, to the origin. So we basically want to move that point to the origin, 2, 0, 0. So because it's currently -5, 3, I'm going to be moving that point. I'm going to add 5 to it and then subtract 3 from it so that I can move that point. So I'm just going to make this a P so that way we know, to here. So what I did was I subtracted 5, so it was at -5, 3. So I added 5 to it, so that moves it 5 to the right, and subtracted 3. So that's how I moved that original point. But if I move our point, then I also have to move the object itself, right? So I can't just move the point, everything has to come with it. So when I do that, I'm also going to need to change by translating the figure as well. So I'll do the new one in red. So I added 5, so if you want to do this with me, I added 5, so I'm going to take 3 and I'm going to move it to the right 5. I'm starting with C here. So if I start with C, 3 plus 5, and these need to be negative because we are in the second quadrant, so negative 5, 5, negative 5, 4, and negative 3, 4. So if I add 5 to it, I'm going to be at positive 2, so negative 3 plus 5 is 2, and then I'm going to want to subtract 3 from it so that I can go down. So it was at 4, so now I'm going to be at 1. So I'm going to add 5 and then subtract 3. So that'll be our new C value. And I'm going to do that same thing with all of these different points. So same thing with B. I'm going to subtract and then subtract again, or add, and then, yeah, all over. I'm going to add so that it moves down and then subtract again. So move down. I want to move, I think I'm doing this backwards for all of you. Okay, move, add 5 to your first coordinate, sorry, and then move down 3. So B will end up here. Oops. And then A will end up here. So, very first step we do, and sorry that was a little confusing, very first thing that we have to do if we want to write down these steps is translate the point to the origin. And then 1B is to translate the figure or the point that you're using. So translate your figure with it. Okay, so next we can just do what we're used to doing. So the rule for 180 degrees, if we go back up, is just to make both of the points the opposite of what they are. So if they're positive, make it negative. If it's negative, make it positive. So I'm going to choose purple here so that way we can rotate this. So C here is now 2, 1. So make them both negative. So I'm going to be now at negative 2, negative 1. B is at 0, 1, so I'll be at 0, negative 1. And A is at 0, 2, so it'll now be 0, negative 2. Oops, I did not put that at negative 2, I put that at negative 3. There we go. So that is what your new figure is going to look like, but we can't finish it off now. So step 2 is to rotate using the rules we know. And then step 3 is to move it back because that's not where we wanted it originally. So we still have to move it back. So again, we're going to add 5 to the x-coordinate, and then we will add subtract 3. So let's go ahead and we will move this. Let me come up with another color for you. see if I can get like a, let's see here, an orange. How about a, yeah, we'll use an orange. Okay, so since we went to the right 5, we're going to go to the left 5. So we'll take C, left 5, and it's going to end up off of our coordinate plane here. 3, 4, 5. So C, left 5. And then we went down 3, so now we need to go up 3. So 1, 2, 3. It's going to end up someplace over here. So that'll be our C prime. B, we want to go left 5. And then up 3. A, we'll go left 5. And then up 3. So this isn't going to be quite perfect because our C is off there, but that's kind of going to be what it looks like if we were to rotate this 180 degrees using -5.3 as the origin. So step 3 then is just to move it back or translate it back. So I know this was a little confusing. We're going to do more with it, but hopefully the first part is the best part for you, because that is what you will see the most. So have a great rest of your day, and I will see you back here.